Are you generally supportive of the Science City project as envisioned by Johns Hopkins' Great Seneca Science Corridor?
The County Council voted unanimously to pass the Great Seneca Science Corridor project. It's a 30-year plan that will not take shape unless the Corridor Cities Transitway is underway. We already have Johns Hopkins University. We already have the University of Maryland at Shady Grove. We already have Shady Grove Hospital. And so what this plan seeks to do is to leverage those major resources which are already there, but which today, unfortunately, are part of a very low-rise 1970s style suburban office park development. What the Great Seneca Science Corridor envisions will be to combine a transit hub opportunity with the Corridor Cities Transitway, with the combination of jobs, housing, and shopping that will be an innovation cluster, as you've seen in North Carolina in the Research Triangle, as you've seen in Cambridge, Mass, and in Palo Alto, California, where because you have a critical mass of life science industry, other life science industry is attracted to be close by in a manner that facilitates walking and bicycling and scientific and creative interaction. So the answer is yes, I support it, and every other member of the County Council supported it as well.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Becky Wagner.
Hi, I do support the Science City, and you might not know that because that's not my wheelhouse. You know, it's not. I'm a health and human services expert, but once I was officially taken on a leave of absence on June 1st, I'm allowed to speak to that. That's the very kind of development we need. Those are the very kinds of jobs we need. And what we have to pay attention to now, which perhaps we didn't do such a good job for the past 30 years, is to make sure that that infrastructure accompanies that Science City. But we are talking about 3 decades. We do know that we need the Corridor Cities Transitway to be part of that, and we do know that we can't be surprised when the state and the federal government say, whoops, you're only getting one, and it'll either be Purple Line or it'll be the CCT. We need to be creative and start exploring some public-private opportunities for funding that CCT. And we need to, yes, always be respectful of our neighbors, just like at White Flint, where finally folks said, you know what, maybe this could work for all of us, as opposed to saying, no, this isn't going to work, and we can tell you why everything is wrong. We need to thrive at job and transit centers, and this is another opportunity for us.
Next candidate is Fred Allen.
I'll start my response with this question. How many of you came to this meeting today using mass transit? 2 people. One of the things that I'm concerned about with any development in Montgomery County is I have heard, and I'm learning a lot as I've gone through this process. I hear a lot about, well, we'll have bike paths, we'll have the CCT and all those other issues. But what I don't hear and what I don't see is how this is all brought together. I live very close to the Gaithersburg West, the Science City project, and there are a lot of concerns in my community and surrounding communities about the input that they had in that process. And I'm still not convinced with this tremendous growth that's projected that we will be able to sustain the infrastructure and that we will get people out of their cars. The article I was referring to in the Washington Post today is that the private car is still king. We still are committed to that as a community, as individuals. And what in the process of development and these new ideas that we have about science cities and White Flint plans are going to get people out of the car so that I'm 10 minutes from here, my home. I have no way to get here by mass transit to the Casey Barn. And we need to look at this in a broader way and not just these individual ways. So right now, I have a lot of question marks. I'm glad that the council voted unanimously, but I have a lot of questions about whether we'll be able to implement it effectively.
Thank you. Our next candidate is Hans Reamer.
If the county follows through on its promises, I think that the plan will be a very good outcome for us. There's a lot of talk about how we compete with Northern Virginia for jobs. These are the right kind of jobs for our county. They're jobs that are consistent with our values. They're clean, high-tech, science. These are the industries that we want to bring into our county. I was the only challenger, though, who spoke out during the process, when the plan was going through, and called for changes in the plan. My concern about the plan was I didn't feel it was sufficiently oriented around public transportation and transit. I thought it relied on creating too many cars on the road in the vicinity of the area, and that we should shift the model here to focus more on walking and biking and transit in order to get the best outcome for our long-term environmental sustainability, for our community impacts. I think I had a very positive influence. What I would also say, though, is that now that Gaithersburg West, or the Great Seneca Science Plan is done, and the White Flint Plan, the 270 corridor, so much work, Shady Grove, so much work has been done there. And you wonder why you have so many cars on the road here. It's because this is where all the jobs are. And it has a real effect on our quality of life. So another thing that I said during the course of that debate was that we had to really turn our attention to the 29 corridor, the east side of the county, and address the fact that there's very few jobs there. So everyone over there has to get on the road and drive over to this side of the county, and that affects people who live here, and it affects people who live there as well. So I'd like to see us putting those science, life science jobs on the east side now for the future, and build new transit systems that are affordable to help people get around the county. That, I think, is an important blueprint for a better future here in Montgomery County.
Thank you.
Very happy about the Science City plan, and I worked very hard with Phil Andrews to try to make this plan more palatable. And I worked very hard with the cities of Gaithersburg and Rockville. I'll be blunt, I have never seen such total disregard for communities in the planning process as you saw on this plan. Never have I seen this. I've been a community activist for a long time, and this one, with park and planning perspective, went over the top. I think there are real serious problems there. The state basically said, you've got a $7 or $8 billion list of road projects. Where does this next $1.3 billion fit on your list? And by the way, you don't have money, and how do you plan on paying for it? There are real challenges here. I think the traffic tests are seriously flawed. I know that the state had serious concerns about them. So I share the concerns that the community has, and I don't think this plan articulated very well to the cities of Rockville or Gaithersburg, nor to the surrounding residential communities. So I think the plan is problematic. Phil and I did some research on the jobs, and this is not all a story of high-tech jobs. When we looked at the county executive's analysis, they had 11,000 jobs paying less than $30,000 a year in their projection. This is not exactly a high-tech booming future if you have those many jobs for whom we do not provide housing in the county. You picture how you're going to live on $30,000 a year and ask yourself what comes next. I think this plan has got issues. I supported the upzoning of all of the properties, which I thought was manageable, except for the piece on the Bellward Farm. That piece I thought should have been kept at a smaller level. We should have waited to see whether the transit worked, whether all the things we said we were going to do, whether we did them, whether we put them into place. And then, since this was a 30 or 40-year plan, we would have had the opportunity to come back, say in 10 or 15 years, or as we approach build-out of a phase one, we would have had the opportunity to say, should we go farther? Is the transportation working? What's next? I think we compressed the development scenario in too short. We compressed the development into too short a period, and we should have been more patient with this.